Well, hello everyone. Cheers for joining us, and welcome to the next Bernstein Start-Up Diaries series. Obviously, following the success of the first one we ran with Michael over at Toot Toot, today we are going to be interviewing Tom, who's the co-founder over at Orka Technology. We'll be talking through his journey and also Orka Technology story. And then we're really going to hone in on the culture aspect of the team that he's built within that business. So firstly, Tom, thanks for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
Hi everyone, and thanks Chris. Thanks for having us.
No worries at all. Shall we just dive in? So do you want to tell us, start off, sort of introduce yourself officially, tell us a little bit about Orka Technology and what inspired you to start the company?
Sure. Hi everyone, I'm Tom, co-founder and CEO of Orka. We founded the business in 2016, James, Nick, and I, the three co-founders. All three of us work together really, as many startups kind of where the origin start begin from is usually three people or two people in a room talking about opportunities and what they're seeing out there. And we came up with this idea of what was originally called Broadstone. And you know, the business as it is today is completely different. As like I say, as many startups are, you start off with an idea and that progresses, you iterate on that concept. You kind of have conversations with clients, and it kind of builds and builds on that. Like I say, it's not and I think that's where we've got from it in terms of a story. It's a really organic story where we saw a huge potential with our clients that we work with, which was around people and how our clients were struggling with hiring people and the amount of agencies that they was utilizing and how much that drove them insane. And we recognized, we understood the very manual processes that was happening there. And we thought there was an opportunity to build something which was very, tech focused, creating a marketplace effectively for one side's got companies, the other side's got workers. And we started to build, we built out an MVP to kind of share with clients that we knew of, and we got a lot of validation in that, and then we went out to raise some capital with our investors at this point, which is Maven and some angels. They've continued to back us all the way through that. When it was pre-revenue, and we've got some great traction in terms of onboarding some fantastic corporate logos, huge workforces. And we really see ourselves as a challenger to that whole, people and how people find work. And we really honed in on our journey from, that kind of has evolved from just a temporary staffing platform that kind of looks at matching workers with jobs into kind of evolving into, there's a whole kind of what we call Orka Tech kind of ecosystem there, which is from workers finding work to then getting cleared, and background checks is becoming more and more important to then actually getting paid. And that really is a very integrated flow from a worker's perspective anyway. And some people may question, there's three different products there, you're trying to take on the world. And I think we've got 45,000 workers in our community that believe that that's for them it couldn't be any easier. It's very fragmented. And we've built from that, over the last 4 years or so.
So obviously, one of the things you mentioned there is worker tech, and it's a phrase that you've coined. Do you want to just give us sort of a bit more background into that and what you're trying to create through Orka?
Yeah, sure. Like I say, the ecosystem, it's most challenges or concepts when people are trying to are looking to create an opportunity or identify an opportunity, see a trend that someone's not seen before. And I suppose that's the similar way which Uber have recognized they want to be that whole that whole transportation stack, and from a user wanting to hail an Uber cab to then paying for public transportation to transporting their food delivery. Airbnb have done the same in terms of how people find and go and explore new cities. From it's not only about the accommodation, it's about the trips, it's about the experiences, and that's that whole stack. And that's the same way that we see for an Orka from a worker's perspective. People are wanting to embrace more. There's a massive demographic there that's been underserved, and 85% of the global workforce are an hourly paid worker or a shift-based worker. So and things haven't really changed in their world from that perspective. So how do, if they're going to find some temporary work, they usually go to the bricks and mortar agencies on the high street and trying to, fill out an interview and start looking at kind of job postings on in a window. And that really doesn't really fit with how people want to approach work, their lives. And, work is a huge aspect of everyone's life. And then that falls into the next phase when we started building out Broadstone, which is the first kind of product that we came to market with. We went out to, we recognized there's a huge amount of emphasis needed in terms of background checking people. And, how do people, some of our clients were kind of taking 14 weeks to clear individuals into being able to get them ready to work. And that really didn't really work for our platform. And we went out to market to find a partner there. There wasn't anything out to market. And so we started building it in-house, and we've been developing that for a number of years now, where we can kind of start embracing that, passing that worker into almost a jobs passport, so that instead of a company owning that background checking data or that workers' credentials, the actual individual starts owning their own credentials and simply share that. So speeding up the ability to get into work. And then the final piece of that puzzle is pay, which is ultimately the reason why everyone goes to work. And if you're offering flexible work and flexibility and speed, then you need to think about pay and how it's pretty rigid, and how workers are effectively financing companies' bottom lines in terms of taking 30 days to get paid, and pay, lots of people need that bit more of a flexibility around their pay for various reasons, whether that be fuel or costs that they think foresee. So I think that's another part of the journey that we've been building on, and so far it's got a lot of traction. So that's the whole concept around Orka Tech.
Appreciate that. With obviously yourself, one of the things, we used to be actually neighbours in the same building until obviously the pandemic hit. But one of the things that I found out just before it all happened is you just received some investment. This is all kind of starting to snowball and take shape. I guess being a startup armed with that investment, do you feel that you were better placed for the last few months, and you were able to be a bit more ambitious with your decisions?
I suppose it was a great time. Looking back, it's very opportune. It's a great time that we got that raised that capital, because it's hard out there getting fundraising in place, and especially if that's the first seed round. So it was very opportunistic. I don't think it changes in terms of everyone kind of battens down the hatches, and you cost assess and figure out what's most important. You don't know how long this is. You have a plan when you raise capital, and you think, okay, these will be what's the next. What do we need to achieve before we hit the next milestone, and build on that. You have to start thinking: is there things in there that aren't as priority, and start stack ranking those things. And what's the minimal cost that you can have with achieving the optimal, getting the optimal output. And we did that. We looked at everything, and we really, you talked about office there. We negotiated with Allied London, which has been fantastic, and very much, the team there are very much embracing. I'm sure they did the same with you guys. Is embracing, these unforeseen circumstances have to be kind of supported, and it's in their interest to do those things. So we looked at a lot of things, and what we did was we kind of really did batten down the hatches, and you didn't know which way it was going to go. Fortunate for us, it went the other way, and we've seen more digital adoption happening and faster, which is a great indicator of we're building something that is adding value, and we see that only building and building with our clients. And they're talking about long-term partnerships, global partnerships now. In terms of supporting them, they recognise there's a massive shift happening in terms of how workers are looking to find work. How do they need to react to attract those labour markets into these industries? So from that perspective, we've been really, really strict with ourselves, and worked our way through it. We put in processes to make sure we've got the finger on the pulse. Obviously, it's challenging when everyone's working remotely. Fortunately, we had some of these processes already in place to allow people to work remotely, but you still got to figure out things around culture and how to kind of keep a team upbeat and optimistic and enthusiastic. We had to make some really hard calls on people's pay. We asked the team at that point, when and it hit, can we look to, we'll have to, reduce the salaries to keep everybody on board, and that the team bought into that because they believe in the mission, they believe that we do make the right choices and protecting the business to get out on the other side of the storm. So this is where culture really is so critical, and kind of on this topic is, if you can, show your team that you genuinely care, and there's less question, you're constantly communicating with them. It helps when scenarios like this come out to play, because you have got the best intentions and you do the right things.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. But just before I guess we dive in fully into the culture aspect, obviously you've launched a new product in the middle of all this chaos. How's that been? How's that worked out for you?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it kind of comes back to your point there, and how do you react, and do you turn down the product development? Do you shift things around the roadmap? And I suppose we saw that was, well, okay, we need to move faster, and I suppose let's be more agile. Let's get things out. Let's test the waters instead of holding back. And we was very before the pandemic, we was purely in security inside in terms of the FM market that we serve. We opened up to the cleaning sector while we were down, because we just, we needed to get that out, and clients were asking us, they need more people. And I suppose the next thing that was on the roadmap was which we built a feature probably just over 2 years ago, called Instant Pay, and that was built for the Broadstone product, or ecosystem, and for the team, the workers there, to basically access their earnings faster. Again, tying into that whole, if you're offering flexible work, you need to start thinking about flexible pay. We was wanting to increase loyalty to our workforce. Temporary staffing is plagued with, churn of staff, and that's a big part of them. How do you increase that loyalty? How do you get people on site? How do you increase their performance and making sure they're doing good jobs? So we created a feature there called Instant Pay, and we just really tested the water on it, and it was down to, we were servicing the BBC Teen Awards, and it was only 2 shifts over a weekend, and people in London and people traveling into the city, it worked for 4 hours. It starts coming less kind of valuable to them, or less important. They're not going to potentially show up because they get paid for 30 days and for 2 hours. That's 4 hours and two shifts. So we introduced Instant Pay to test that out, to see if that would increase performance, and it did an amazing job of doing just that. And so we started building that out in our product permanently. And it seems massive uptake. We see 40% of our earnings drawn down through that product. On average, 2.5 times with transactions a week. People using it almost like a contingent bank account, which for hourly paid workers, it's really, they need that. It's that ability to draw down when they need it. Whatever quantum, there is no interest. It's a transaction fee, so it's a straightforward. There's no compounded interest like a payday loans, which is hugely important, because that's where they were being very predatory on people that needed the earnings. This is purely, you're only going to be able to access the earnings that you've already, it's been approved by your employer, so you'll never go into debt. We recognize, when we started speaking to our clients about these, Broadstone and the benefits, what we're seeing, and how the ability that what we've done, or we've demonstrated massively how we've managed to attract 45,000 people, and our clients having a problem there in actually getting people. So they're asking that the question is, how did you do that? And some of the things like Instant Pay and gamification and that ability to have flexibility in their lives is really, really important. So with those conversations, we said, okay, there's a feature there that clients are saying we really, really would like that within our business and offer it to our workforces. Some of our clients have got 40,000 staff across their business, and this tool will allow them, Orka Pay, it will allow them to attract staff, to retain staff better, and also optimize their workforces. So, there's a big thing there where, employers want to see, if there is extra few shifts, if that encourages them, does the employer pay for that transaction so they can access their earnings quicker? And it's a win-win for both sides, really, from employers. So we really push forward on that front, and it's seen huge amounts of traction. And there's a couple of great players out in the market there that are doing fantastic things in that same mission of helping workers and employers attracting staff. And we see this just many employers having this. Most employers actually are having this type of solution in their businesses, in 3 to 5 years.
I mean, just to, again, go back to that piece from before about the culture, and obviously one of the more remarkable things that when we were discussing and setting this up, is you told me you had a 0 attrition rate over the past 3 years, which is quite frankly, it's crazy. It's ridiculous in a technology business where developers in particular, to focusing on them, developers get bombarded with opportunities tens of times a day, and there's temptation here, there, and everywhere. I guess that's a long tenure in technology nowadays. It's probably like 2 years. How have you managed to, I guess, ultimately have a 0 attrition? What's the secret to that over the past few years?
I think firstly, it's the mission. So making sure when you're employing people, you understand they buy into that mission. We've had some really, really robust, interview processes. Do people believe in what we're trying to achieve? Then I think it's always, set out from day one of making sure culture was really, really part of it. It's not something that you try to do, build culture around, build culture into your business, kind of to, when you're at 20, 30 people. I think it's trying to build culture in your business from day one. So everyone embraces that and you start iterating that culture. I think we've always made sure we take care of people and make sure they're kept in the loop. Again, I think it's all about kind of looking at your team and making sure that they, we've built on that as well. We've not from sorry, I'm just charging up my laptop. It's about to die as usual. So yeah, we've what we did, early on in our journey wasn't necessarily what we do today. And there's some things that, you just don't need to do it. When you've got 3 or 4 people in a room, and you're just trying to figure out an idea. But as you look to scale your teams, and you need to start implementing, processes and people management tools. We just introduced a tool ourselves, which really does help us to scale up our. We do weekly one-on-ones. Each team leader does one-on-ones with that. Catching up, just making sure that they're fine, and what is there anything that can help. We've built in our performance, company-wide performance review. That's not only kind of team leader down, or there is a peer-to-peer up and down on that, so everyone understands that everyone's doing the best job. We send insight surveys quarterly and pulse surveys. With obviously the climate, and it's very volatile right now. We've sent out a recent diversity inclusion survey. So all these things, as we're gearing up to kind of scale to the next phase, to make sure we hire the right people. We continuously build a diverse company that then gets the right people on board. And so it's not a silver bullet. There's lots of things you need to consider. You have the typical social events, which everyone looks forward to, and we invest a lot of time into that. It's been difficult right now. If that's one area probably from lockdown has been difficult to kind of build in, because we have on a Friday usually we'll have a product showcase or a showcase event where everyone just grabs a beer and we showcase the work the great work that's been happening across the company, and and then everyone kind of has a few drinks and just usually talks about work. But that's not really been able to happen. Obviously in lockdown, you try to do these things. I suppose that's one area I think we need to focus on, if I was being honest, and think about ideas. But there's other areas. It's not just about that side. It's about performance, incentivization. It's about making sure the team are all pulling in the right the right direction. We have 3 different products, and we're going into a squad kind of a Spotify model, effectively, where you've got squads and guilds. Making sure all those 3 products are all aligned and everyone understands, on the teams that are set on those product teams, understand why they're doing the things that they are every day, is really, really important. Stand-ups, I couldn't encourage to do more of those stand-up, daily stand-ups, all hands meetings, the company and team leads, just to kind of present back to the team, just making you think as a leader that everybody understands what's going on, and you couldn't be further from the truth. Everyone is in their world right on a day-to-day, and you need to make sure that you extract that and share that intel across the business. Just because you're sat in a position where you can see all, doesn't mean that everyone appreciates what's happening and why they're doing these things. So I couldn't encourage that more. We've done a lot of workshops as a team. We not driven from not only myself, but some of our team leaders and team members massive advocates of having a certain way that the way that we've got a passionate group of people, very intelligent people, and they want to see how the company can grow. And it's they're really passionate about how we build a team, how we build products, how we engage with our community, and making sure that the values and our culture is set up to continue to deliver that ongoing. So I wouldn't say there's necessarily a kind of a set manual. There is you've got to suss that out based on your team and we had a strong belief in what we wanted as a team, and we set out that, and we discussed that a lot. When you're a group of 5 people and you start talking about the mission and the values of your company, some people may look at you and think, this is crazy, let's just get back to building a product and getting to market first. But I'd encourage having those discussions is really, really important, and think about those things when you're hiring. So the first thing I kind of did with the very first hire we made, our technical lead, was I did a first day interview. So, and this process continues to this day, where you do your interview process. They come in, they've got all their boot camp pack, so they've got the full what's expected of them, what their agenda is going to be for the next 2 weeks, getting them meeting as many team members, but also on their first day they will conduct the team lead or the direct report will do a first day interview, and it's just kind of talking about things like what attracted you to this role, and what the things that you'd like to achieve in the next 6-12 months in this role. What would you like to achieve beyond that? And all those things. And what it really does, I find it very, very powerful, and understanding each individual very, very quickly. You could almost put them in personas and boxes and think, okay, well, that person, as you're a startup, some people are coming into this to learn for themselves, and they have aspirations of very entrepreneurial because they're joining a startup, and they have aspirations of owning their own startup at one day. So they want to absorb as much information and get exposed to things. Some people have a strong, want to understand and grow through this business and take on more responsibility. Some people just want to do a great job and be really, really, really great and doing a fantastic job on building products or building processes in the company, and so you can really sculpt a kind of way to work with that person, and I think that's a really, really useful tool early stages, and like I say, it's continued to deliver value for us because you can get the right level of engagement with them.
You obviously mentioned about starting it, I guess, from the beginning, the culture. Did the sort of early team members, did they help shape that, or was it very much what you and the founders originally sort of thought, this is how we're going to have it, or has it been those first few?
No, I think you like I say, it's iterative. Everything is iterative, and I think that's the key learning point. And the first our culture when it was 3-4 people was completely different to what it is today, and every new team member comes in, adds to that culture and changes it, and we think about new things, and the size starts changing how you've got to think about culture. You can't do we've got to think when our head of engineering has got 10 or 11 direct reports to do one-on-ones with, so you start thinking about how do you break that out, and how does your communication, we're doing, as your team grows, you used to have a company-wide all hands where, we stand there in a circle, and that's becoming a little bit broken. So I think it isn't one thing that you start with an idea and you build on that, and then it changes, but you've got to embrace that kind of iteration, really. I don't think it's, like I say, each individual adds that culture, and as long as you're hiring and people that's going to complement that culture, and buy into what you're trying to do, that's only a benefit, and it does create a more positive culture. And like I say, some of these tools can help give some structure, but ultimately it's the people that will shape it.
And just obviously, you alluded to earlier as well some of the difficulties of having your team beer with talking through the products and having that sort of more time together. What's been the sort of the challenge of maintaining a strong culture during the remote distributed workforce that we're living through at the moment? I
think other than, because they normally have office beers, so the beers are on tap in the office, so that's been a challenge to get the logistics, and we've struggled with that one, to be honest. But I think you can never, as much as everyone's considering how the world would look after this pandemic, and how I think 100% the world will, how people work and how people in offices and office culture will dramatically shift. you'll never replace that face-to-face interaction. I think that's the biggest thing from a culture perspective. You know, we've just opened up the office for people to voluntarily come into the office on a rota system, just to get out of your apartment like you're doing today, Chris, and, you know, just to get a new set of environment, because it's getting a bit stir crazy. But, you know, and we all, after the day's work, and everyone came in, we had a beer in the office after it, and there was only 6 of us in. And every single person said, you know, they didn't realize how much they missed being in the office, seeing people face to face, just having those, you know, off the cuff conversations. And, you know, I think you can, I think there's an opportunity to be more. I think we got ourselves as we scaled, we didn't think about these things like having meetings. And I think we was doing a lot of meetings where there was too many, you know, too many cooks in a meeting, and you know, wasn't optimal and, you know, and efficient. And then I think what this has done is I think there's an opportunity here to be, you know, very, very efficient, and have meetings directly, and allow you those days to just get your head down and do some, you know, what you need to do. But then also maybe coming into the office three days a week, where you can have these conversations, have these meetings, you know, run sprint sessions and design sprints, you know, think about the product, and you know, that's something I think is really, really important. I think we've still not got that. I don't think anybody else. I think, you know, I keep looking out for the likes of, you know, your tech leaders of Facebook, and how they're considering the work environment, how they do they cultivate culture, and you know, I think everyone's a fool if the person's a fool if they think they've got it nailed, because I think it's the only starts of it. I think you need to be open to adaptation really, and adapt to what's in front of us.
Do you think you've become more efficient then as a team during this time? Do you think you found sort of efficiencies really through how this change?
Yeah, definitely. I think we track on our reporting, you know, our velocity in terms of engineering, you know, the outputs of communications and hours and performance in revenue, and all those type of different metrics that we run across the business. And we've never been more high performing, and I think that's been fantastic. I think, you know, we run daily customer success meetings, things just to keep everyone updated, because you're not having those office. So I think we've been more efficient in that circumstance. And I think if that was a short-term thing, that'd be fantastic. But now it's kind of thinking, oh, this is set for the long term. There is going to always, you know, we did our all hands today remotely. Everyone was remote, and, you know, you've got team leads jumping in. We've had to adapt that a little bit. And that's going to be set for life now. I think that's going to be a part of our culture now, is we're going to have this hybrid model of at least some 20% of your staff or 10% of your staff in working from home each day. So you need to start, and it's really from working at home perspective, it's quite easy to have everybody in together in an office and do these processes and have meetings and run these kind of all hands and such like that, and then everybody's at home. But I think when there's a hybrid of some people in the office, some people in working from home, I think that's a real challenge. I think no one's really quite got there yet, and we're using a lot of experiments right now to test out and figure out the long term of our culture and how we communicate, because communication is absolutely critical to the culture piece, and making sure everyone's aligned and understands what's happening in each team, make sure they understand, like I say, understand why they're doing the things they are, they're getting supported in the right way, and all those matters are really, really important.
Right, just one final question from me, then we'll open it up to the viewers. We've already got a couple of preemptive questions, but just for anyone who's watching, who's keen to ask Tom a question, I don't want to just steal all his time and continue to ask him questions from my point of view. If there's anything that you want, please put it in the Q&A section, start firing those through, and I'll ask them to Tom. You'd start popping those in, that'd be great. But final question for me is something I like to ask really any founder is, what's been the biggest surprise of being a founder and a CEO since starting the journey?
I think there's lots of things you learn. I think, and you start reflecting back, and I think it's embracing, firstly, the struggle, and get used to the fact that no matter what level you get to, there's always a struggle. There's always something that you need to put out, some sort of fire that you need to put out, and some different growing pains, or, you know, you need to pivot, or you need something like this happens, and, you know, it hits the core of business. You need to have, you know, crisis meetings and, you know, serious conversations. Product might not be doing what you think it's going to do. So embrace that it's going to be a struggle, and actually makes it easier when you think, okay, this is going to be, it's not going to be an easy ride. Even when you see people in, TechCrunch or, publications, and they seem like they're hitting, setting the world alight, there's probably deep down, there's some serious stuff that's happening in their business and they're trying to figure out. So embrace that. That goes from day one to the finish line. I think the second one is kind of touching it slightly similar thing. It's embrace iteration. What everyone says it, but I think really driving it home is, when we talked about culture there, and what worked for us at 3, 4, 5 people definitely didn't work for us when we're at 15, 20 people, and now what are 20, 30 people, it won't work for us in 6 months when we're at 40, 50. So embrace that. That goes across products, that goes across your finances. Embrace that you're going to do these things in cycles. It's not, your product needs to, I'd encourage you to hire in-house software engineering teams as quickly as possible, because that'll help you adapt your roadmap, have a clear guide of what you want to do, break that down into bite-sized chunks. Don't think, there's one of my good friends, Ross Boardman, he came up, showed me this infographic of starting off with a product which is a scooter, then goes into a tricycle, then a bicycle, then a motorbike, then a car. And I think that is kind of goes across not just product teams, but your entire business. Start off with something very simple, test it out, get from that point to the next point, and then go down that, invest, double down. So embrace iteration. Have many meetings with people, talk to your peers in terms of not only your peers in your teams and your colleagues. I think talk to, if you're starting out, get out, reach out to fellow CEOs. And it's not only CEOs that have been there, done that, but CEOs that are going through the same challenge, because what you're challenging when you're trying to get out the door, that, if you're a co-founder, it's a total different challenge to someone that's got 40, 50, 100 people, and then kind of going to a corporate level. So I think having that diverse kind of network is really, really important. I think get out to some of these, Tech Nation's a fantastic resource. Utilize those guys. There's some fantastic programs to get you off the ground. PwC, we joined the PwC scale program early on. That definitely opened our eyes up to what we could potentially be. And again, thinking about iteration. So that's what I would really focus on, is really embracing the struggle and embracing that you're going to be iterating across your business throughout the lifetime that you're in that company.
Yeah, I'm a massive fan of Tech Nation. We're actually trying to get Mo Adelu to speak on one of these, to give a bit more sort of the background of the ecosystem of the Northwest tech scene at the moment. I think they're a massive part of the tech scene up here. I guess one of the questions that have come up, just dive into. You may just answer a large part of it, to be honest with you, Tom, but the first really came through was, how will you maintain the engaged culture of your people as the business continues to grow?
I think, again, so something that we've done that and we've implemented only pretty recently is a tool called Lattice, and that really does. So we've committed now, so we'll send out quarterly pulse surveys. Are they engaged? Do they feel valued? Multiple questions. So that's something that can give us we benchmark across the industry and companies, and we benchmarked all but one category above benchmarking standards. So I think something like that would be really, really important. Having your one-on-ones with your team, your team leads, holding one-on-ones with with their colleagues. That really does. You can react to that rather than someone's really, really pissed off, and then they decide they've already in their heads they're going. I think you can start having those conversations, understanding where they want to be in their own journey, because this is a journey that it will end with you. That employee, you've got to understand. This is the first thing I kind of say is your journey when a new startup joins with us. You will eventually leave our company, if whether it's through us doing an exit event or getting acquired, or they find their own path. That journey will come to end. So I suppose making sure that they are prepared and you understand what they want to do out of that is really important to be having an engaged team, because what point they're going to jump off, and you can build that kind of structure for them.
So that's quite a unique way of looking at it, but a really truthful way of looking at it. It's being quite honest with yourself that the person will eventually make a move and won't be there for a lifetime. It's quite
no. I think it's just making sure that they have, if what they want to achieve with throughout time within your company, they get as much of it out of it and prepared for that whatever that point is, whether it's been, going working for another company and taking a new role, or setting up their own startup, or growing within the company and staying on, and kind of working, the management team or the co-founders or things like that. It's being open to that, and kind of embracing that. That's just fact.
Fair. So one of the other questions that's come up, what's the best lesson you've learned since founding the business?
What's the best lesson? I think one of the lessons we learned recently, to be fair, and I suppose it goes back to the topic, which is culture. And a great lesson I only recently learned was, if you've got an engaged team and passionate, and they think about it, and there's, sometimes a co-founder can think, okay, this is the way I want to do it, and this is the best way to do it. We did the rebrand, and we went through, and Rory's probably on the other side of this laughing, our marketing manager, but we went through a process, and we thought this is to get to where we want to do it. Again, we was in lockdown when we went through a rebrand, so we wanted to get there fast. We knew we need to do this to open up the other products, and we went down this avenue where we could get something out really quickly, and it was only a couple of people involved in that process. And I think when we shared it with the team, it didn't go down well, because it didn't really encompass what we were. So what we did then, we threw it back to the team and got their inputs, and and they actually gave some fantastic feedback that actually allowed us to end with a better result by far. And I suppose that's the lesson for me, is like kind of sharing with your team and being communicating, and don't feel that you're burdening people with something. If it's really, really important, you've got that culture there that team members want to get involved and they're passionate. Embrace that. Don't feel like there's something that you've got to share and hide. So that's something recently that we've got a democratic team, and you've got to share. If you've got that you've set up that way, sometimes you need to continue to do that, because that's something that you've been building on.
Great. Another question that's come through. Often culture can seem intangible, and it can be seem like every organisation's looking for similar types of people: hardworking, self-starting, team player, resourceful, not a bully. Can you give an example of a type of person that might do very well at another company but wouldn't fit in at Orka? Good question.
It's a really good question. I think it goes back down to diversity. Again, there isn't it's not necessarily a bad person to come into your business. I think as long as we've got some clear values that we kind of look at, and grit, persistence, empathy, and all those, some of those values, and we're trying to put them into practice. And how would you react to this? You kind of get a good, I think, someone that wouldn't really fit into our company would be someone that couldn't really embrace the fast pace. I think that's a big one. If you're, looking to get into a startup, if you come from a corporate background and, you've got working in a company that's got 5,000-6,000 people in there, there's lots of resource in there. Lots of things that have been handled by, each function has got some support there. In a startup, that's not the same, co-founders, CEOs, and all that type of stuff. In a CEO, we'll be making cups of teas and stocking the beer fridge, and jumping on product calls, and all the things that and goes across that. I suppose every single person that comes into a startup, you either love it or you hate it, because you're going to get thrown into the deep end, and it's going to be fast, and sometimes it's chaos. But I think if someone that can't handle that speed, and if you're going to sit there and you're going to look through your emails for first half of your day, back off for a week off, that's not really going to work in a startup, because you haven't got enough time. You really do need to get on with things. Is that when you fundraise and you get the deal done, the clock starts again. You've got to hit the next milestone in the next 18 months or 2 years. And if you don't do them, hit those milestones, then you're going to, and you get to close to get profitability, that's fine. But if you're not, then you need to start readjusting fast. And so I think that's something that we'd look into people is, are they able to deal with a fast pace? Are they going to embrace that? We just need to get stuff done. We actually say every morning, our phrase is get shit done, which is a bit cheesy, and clap. So those type of things are really embraced, and that just drives into our culture that everything, just get something done today, just deliver.
Awesome, awesome. Did you say get shit done and clap? Is that the full phrase?
Yeah, clap, synchronize, and it's been sometimes when you've got time lag on Zoom, it really does kind of go long, and you assess your stand-ups by the synchronization of your claps.
Excellent. Final question we've got at the moment. If anyone's got any others, please fire them over as we start to wrap this up. But that's something you alluded to. How do you tackle diversity in the workplace, especially growing at the rate you've been growing?
Again, I think we're not perfect in this space. We recently sent out a D&I survey to ask the team. We fairly ask them what they think of us so far. But when we sent out that survey, I said, this is a journey. This is something that we need to be better at. Actually, like I say, one of the things that we really do need to focus on is ensuring and making sure that we're striving to be a very diverse team. And that starts at recruitment. So, making sure the people that come in to interview are from various backgrounds and the best people get hired from them back. It's not going to be your background that stops you from joining Orka. It's going to be the fact that you can do a fantastic job and you're going to deliver value and you're going to bring something to the table. I think that starts there. And I think then you constantly, if you hire that diverse team, then you're going to have diverse, approaches to your promotion processes, because people are going to hire. You've got that diverse culture. You're going to solve problems from you're not going to have one view on solving a problem. You're going to have a diverse, so it's a benefit for the company. This is something that we've recently focused. Obviously, there's been a lot of leaders across many industries are coming out and making sure that this is one of the areas that they need to focus on, and we're no different. We want to be better. We've got a fairly diverse team, considering only 23 people, but we want to be better. We've got a female on the board of 6. We've got team in my management team. We've got females. I've got various races, backgrounds in our team, different ages, and I think that's really helped us to get to where we are, to be honest. But we want to be better.
Great. Final question. I guess it comes off one of the previous answers. You're talking about getting stuff done. How do you make sure you don't just get stuff done, but you also get the right stuff done?
I think this comes into prioritization. So there's various things. We went through the growing pains. We was things where we saw blockages on our product roadmap. We've put a process called small change in. So anything below 3 days it takes to develop a bug or some sorts of like that will go into small change, and there's set engineers on that, so it's not blocking the whole engineering team. We also assess. We that starts off with a small change meeting every Monday. Then we also kind of look at. We have regular product roadmap meetings with the management team and the team. We share that with all hands. We stack rank prioritization, no different to based on data. So what's the thing that's going to deliver the most value, quick and easy. Then build out some things you need to just get done to be able to deliver. So you need to get that in, and that's how we build our roadmaps. And we have a roadmap not only for product teams, but we have a community ops roadmap. We have a marketing roadmap, and that just gives structure, and it evolves. It's keeping it agile is important as well. So just because you've got something planned in for the next 3 sprints or 4 sprints doesn't necessarily that's going to stay that way. You've got to constantly assess that. And again, it's about that iteration process of keeping your finger on the pulse, understanding, we send surveys out to our community. We send surveys out to our clients. We have surveys, we're trying to extract as much intel and feedback to help us shape which way we go and do things. And that's really, really important.
One of the questions actually just popped up. How big can Orka be? What's the ambition in terms of headcount or turnover or even geographical coverage?
I think we believe that, as many startups do, that we can be a phenomenally sized business, a huge organization. Like I said, 85% of the workforce, a global workforce, are an hourly paid worker, and they're not really being served in the same way that other areas of their lives are being served. So we think we could be absolutely phenomenal in terms of size, and we think we've got clients which are global businesses. We think what we're doing is applicable to many sectors, and many people will see the benefits of it. We've got clear aspirations to be a multi-billion pound if we possibly can, and do all those things. It's all about execution. I've always said when I speak to investors and new team members that you know, someone will make a multi-billion-pound business out of what we're doing, and especially we're taking a different slant on it and looking at that whole alley worker journey rather than, you know, different products. We look at what then things do to hone in on that journey. And we say someone's going to be, you know, someone will do this really, really well and be a billion-pound business. And what we're right at this early stage right now, and it's all about execution and breaking that down in bite-sized chunks, achieving that, and delivering great products, delivering great service. And I think the world is adopting to our benefit. We see our headcounts swelling. You know, we want to set up in North America very soon with our partners. We've gone out and signed integration partnerships with great workforce management systems that help us do those things. And I think we see great opportunity. It's down to, you know, can we execute? Can you build a team around that to continue to execute? Have you, you know, you're hitting you're hitting the right things from the client's perspective and the worker's perspective. So, you know, we're excited about what's in the next 12 months. But we believe if we do continue to do the right things, that we could be a phenomenal organisation and one of the, in particularly in Manchester, one of the darlings in the tech scene, and that's something that we want to do. And this part of this is trying to give back. And I think every founder, when they go out to set out a business or start up a business, it's about impact. Can you create impact on people's lives? Can you create impact on your own? And I think we've got that opportunity to be a huge impact. And in the scene and delivering back value to people that are looking to do the same, get on the same journey, really.
Fingers crossed. I mean, we're watching, keep seeing you guys pop up in Prolific North with the next, you know, bit of celebration of the fundraising, etc. Keep seeing your faces pop up for you. Look, I think perfect time to wrap up there. So 45 minutes there. I really do appreciate that, Tom. Thanks for joining us and giving a real bit of depth of background to Orka and the culture that you adapted there. So thanks a lot.
No problem at all. Thanks for having us.
For everyone listening, like I say, we're going to record this. It's going on YouTube. We'll put it on as a podcast. And yeah, always keen to hear from you. Any way in which we can improve, adapt the way in which we run these. Feel free to honestly email me anything straight to Chris M at Burn Sheehan, or find me on LinkedIn, connect with me and let me know what you think. And if you're keen to be involved in one of these going forward as well, we are lining up future hosts. We've got one happening in 2 weeks' time that will be announced shortly with the title, etc. And we want to make this a more regular part of Burn Sheehan sort of community support and getting names out there. So please get in touch, give us your feedback. But absolute pleasure to do this again. Thanks a lot, Tom. And everyone, I'll let you all go. Enjoy the rest of your day, and hopefully catch you all soon.